Welcome to the Buddhist Temple of Toledo. Please have a seat and turn to page 2 in your liturgy books. Gata of Atonement. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought. Now I atone for it all. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought. Now I atone for it all. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought. Now I atone for it all. Nikaya 3 Refuges. Buddham Saranam Gacchami. Buddham Saranam Gacchami. Dhammam Saranam Gacchami. Dhammam Saranam Gacchami. Sangham Saranam Gacchami. Sangham Saranam Gacchami. I take refuge in Buddha. refuge in Dharma. I take refuge in Dharma. I take refuge in Sangha. I take refuge in Sangha. The 5 remembrances. I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape having ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature of change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My deeds are my closest companions. I am the beneficiary of my deeds. My deeds are the ground on which I stand. I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape having ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature of change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My deeds are my closest companions. I am the beneficiary of my deeds. My deeds are the ground on which I stand. I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape having ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature of change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My deeds are my closest companions. I am the beneficiary of my deeds. My deeds are the ground on which I stand. This precious human life, rarely encountered, is easily lost. Now that I have life and opportunity, may I practice the Dharma wholeheartedly. Mahayana Refuge. In my heart, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. May I liberate suffering beings and bring them to great joy. May the compassionate spirit of love grow within me, that I may actualize the great way. In my heart, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. May I liberate suffering beings and bring them to great joy. May the compassionate spirit of love grow within me, that I may actualize the great way. In my heart, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. May I liberate suffering beings and bring them to great joy. May the compassionate spirit of love grow within me, that I may actualize the great way. Invocation of the lineage. I give thanks for the guidance of my teachers, for the lineage of teachers before them. I give thanks and offerings for their devoted practice of generosity, moral discipline, patience, joyful effort, concentration, wisdom, skillful means, unshakable vow, spiritual powers, and awakened awareness for my benefit. May their years of life be lengthened, may their vows be completely realized, and may I cultivate these perfections with their guidance. 7 practices of the Bodhisattva. I bow down in body, speech, and mind. I offer the best I have to give, both real and imagined, to fill the space between us. I regret and purify all transgressions. I rejoice in all virtues. I request you to remain until total enlightenment. I request wise and compassionate guidance. I dedicate my merit for the sake of all beings. Generating love and compassion. May all sentient beings be free from clinging and hatred, being close to some and distant from others. How wonderful it would be. May this be accomplished. I will free them from clinging and hatred. Bless me to accomplish this. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and the causes of happiness. How wonderful it would be. May this be accomplished. I will bring them happiness and the causes of happiness. Bless me to accomplish this. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. How wonderful it would be. May this be accomplished. I will free them from suffering and the causes of suffering. Bless me to accomplish this. May all sentient beings have the joy that has never known suffering. May they be free from clinging, hatred, jealousy, miserliness, doubt, pride, wrong view, ignorance, and dualistic thoughts. How wonderful it would be. May this be accomplished. I will bring them to this state. Bless me to accomplish this. Please stand for the Heart Sutra. Great Prajna Paramita Heart Sutra. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva practicing deep Prajna Paramita clearly saw that all five skandhas are empty, transforming all suffering and distress. Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form, form is exactly emptiness, emptiness exactly form, sensation, perception, mental reaction, consciousness. Also like this Shariputra, all things are not destroyed, not stained, pure without loss, without gain. Therefore in emptiness there is no form, no sensation, perception, mental reaction, consciousness, no eye, ear, no tongue, body, mind, no color, sound, smell, taste, touch, object of thought, no seeing, and so on to no thinking, no ignorance, and also no ending of ignorance, and so on to no old age and death, and also no ending of old age and death, no suffering, cause of suffering, cessation, path, no wisdom, and no attainment, since there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva lives by prajna paramita, with no hindrance in the mind, no hindrance, and therefore no fear, far beyond elusive thinking. Right here is nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future live by prajna paramita, attaining anusara samyak sambodhi. Therefore know that prajna paramita is the great sacred mantra, the great vivid mantra, the unsurpassed mantra, supreme mantra, which completely removes all suffering. This is truth, not mere formality. Therefore set forth the prajna paramita mantra. Set forth this mantra and proclaim: Gate gate para, gate para samgate bodhi swaha. Gate gate para, gate para samgate bodhi swaha. Gate gate para, gate para samgate bodhi swaha. Infinite realms of light and dark convey the Buddha mind. Birds and trees and stars and we ourselves come forth in perfect harmony. We recite our Gatha and our Sutra for the many beings of the world and dedicate our practice in grateful thanks to all our many guides along the ancient way. We especially dedicate these merits to Daitoku, Keijo, Emily, Debbie, Wayne, and Martin. May they heal their ills. We also dedicate them to Graham during his transition, Marvine, Kathleen, and Bam Bam at the time of their deaths. We also dedicate this practice to those whose names we hold in the silence of our hearts, as well as those whose names we now voice aloud. May we live in perfect peace with Buddha Dharma, and may we realize the Buddha way together. All Buddhas throughout space and time, all honored ones. wisdom, Mahaprajna, Paramita. Dharma School kids and teachers, please meet in the red room for Dharma School. Everyone else, please prepare for Zazen. Station Kinnan. Sound of the clappers, first and third rows will turn to your right, second and back rows will turn to your left. Follow the person in front of you. Thank you. We will now recite the Sangha Covenant, which is on page 8. We, the Daishin Kokoji Sangha, with respect for the worth and dignity of each person, with wonder at the wisdom and compassion we seek to cultivate by practice, and with deep gratitude for the teachers of this lineage and our connection to one another, covenant to support each other by upholding the precepts of doing no harm, practicing good, and actualizing good for others. Please be seated for today's talk. Please sit comfortably and so that you can make eye contact with the teachers. Gata on opening the sutra. The Dharma incomparably profound and infinitely subtle is rarely encountered, even in millions of ages. Now we see it, hear it, receive and maintain it. May we completely realize the Tathagata's true meaning.
So good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for being here. We've got the power trio. Gonna play a gig. This is a really big day. I don't know if you know, hopefully you know, we have our annual Sangha meeting. which if you think, what, annual, what? Because it's kind of our first. I mean, we've done a few of these before. It's been a minute, right? And I just have to say I'm so ridiculously proud of the administrative end of our community, because for, every little thing we do that's magic, there's a lot under the hood that brings all of this to physical reality for us to share together. And I hope, very much, I hope that at the end of some of the time we spend this afternoon, all of our appreciation for what that looks like, what's actually involved, and how we can all do a share in the lift will be more apparent than it is right now, regardless of how clear we might think it is. So I'm really excited about that. And this afternoon, I will be doing a more extended presentation about the history of our Sangha, how it fits in the lineage, where we are, where it seems to the teachers we'll be going. But for now, it seems appropriate and correct to bring some attention to a selection that was speaking very clearly to me from the Anukaya tradition, the Anugatara Nikaya, it's called. This is Pali teaching. This is a teaching, as far as we know, directly from Buddha, and it's speaking to something that I think is quite topical and quite salient to the moment that we all find ourselves in. It's called The Four Means of Embracing Others. The Four Means of Embracing Others. And I think in a very real way, Sangha has to do with this ability to embrace ourselves and to embrace each other, not some false and perfected mirage of what we wish we were or project on someone else and expect them to be, but actually a true embrace of the true self, not only of ourselves, but significantly with each other. And if you think about your own lived experience of how crazy rare that is in this increasingly digitized world where everything that you say can be preserved forever and accessed anytime, having made it mostly through a pandemic that is still having reverberations on the psyches of our young people and old. In a world where there's political change, the likes many of us will not have seen before. Still, how do we find what it is to really embrace ourselves and each other? The Buddha said it this way. Let's listen. Monks, practitioners, there are these four means of embracing others. What four are they? Giving, endearing speech, beneficial conduct, and impartiality. These are the four means of embracing others. Giving, endearing speech, beneficial conduct, and impartiality under diverse worldly conditions. Under diverse worldly conditions, as is suitable to fit each case. These means of embracing others are like the linchpin of a rolling chariot. If there were no such means of embracing others, neither mother nor father would be able to obtain esteem and veneration from their child. But these means of embracing exist, and therefore the wise respect them. Thus they attain to greatness and are highly recognized. So let's unpack a little bit, and we'll have some help doing so. Giving. Giving. If you want to embrace yourself, be generous with yourself. If you wish to embrace others, Be generous with others. It is often noted that when the Buddha was speaking to a group of new folks, generosity was the go-to topic. In a world ruled at the time by warlords, where might in fact made right, to have the teaching of the Dhamma come and say, the most important thing is giving, is generosity. In fact, if we look around at the very space we're all sharing together, if we look at the robes and the raksus and the cushions and the floors and the ceiling, none of this would be possible if we're not for giving in obvious and unseen ways, all nobly placed within the mandala. So I ask you, giving, what does it mean to you? How do you understand it? Most importantly, how do you practice it? And significantly, how do we practice this as a sangha, as a community of very human beings? Okay? In worldly conditions. Notice the world honored one does not say, step one, separate yourself from all that is impure. Create for yourself a pure space away from the defiled ones. Make yourself a border and let none cross. And here, burn offerings to the Most High or some shit. Like no. Bad human, no. Instead, in the midst of worldly conditions, giving. And further, endearing speech, how you use your words, what you say. And we have this huge advantage because we're all in the temple. So you can think, when you come into these lands onto temple ground, you may say to yourself, now I will practice loving, kind speech. And I know I really get it. There's a lot of reasons to not. But you know what? This is a practice training temple, yeah? We train together. And so that means don't show up and say, what's lunch today? What do I get? Show up and say, I now enter a space of training. This is not a place where you come and fulfill some ridiculous obligation from some unseen celestial accountant. No. This is the place where we gather to practice together. And one of the things we practice is wise speech to the Sangha, and yes, dear one, to yourself. Are your words that you speak to yourself wise? How can you tell? Are they causing suffering or alleviating suffering? Very simple. That words rise in your awareness is inevitable. That you become butler to them is optional. Do not serve unwise words. Let them come, let them go. And thus embrace yourself with wise words. Beneficial conduct. Now here, there's a bit of rubber and road meeting, right? What about when I don't feel like it? like what, 70% of the time, What if you had this wonderful garden and you only gardened when you felt like it? Are there any actual gardeners here? That garden's not going to happen, right? It's not going to. There's a fidelity to the project. We call it vow. We call it vow, baby, right? It's a vow. A vow is an empowering thing. A vow is a clear compass on a ship that desperately needs it. And it doesn't depend which way the wind is blowing. North is still north, baby. Right? And I know it's easier when the wind is in the sails than against them, but the fact is progress is this way. So how do you show up in conduct for yourself? And how do you show up in wise conduct for the Sangha. Again, don't show up just for the pasta, it's great, but show up to practice. And I really mean that. As soon as you come onto temple grounds, a practitioner will think to themselves, now I enter temple ground, now I begin training. I will practice, regardless of how I feel. I will practice wise speech. I will practice generosity, and I will practice right conduct. And then finally, impartiality. Isn't that an interesting one? A true friend. Okay, a true friend. Here you are fucking up. What will a true friend do? They'll tell you, hey, you're being a dumbass. Do you not notice? This, I really, hey man, I love you. This is not good for you, right? This is impartial speech. And on the other hand, if you're really doing good, even though the world can't see it, what's a good friend going to say? You are crushing it. And I know by many gauges in the world it goes unseen, but you know what? I see you, and you're doing great. Huh? And it's not a dance. It's not saying what they want you to say or anything like that. It's honest. Because when you're able to be honest, then as the worldly conditions ebb and flow, as they certainly will, you have the wise counsel of Sangha, of practitioners, that you can go to and rely on. So please take up these practices: giving, endearing speech, beneficial conduct, and impartiality. Please don't fool yourself.
So we decided that we were going to do this three-person talk after the liturgy. And I'm so not prepared. Like, shockingly not prepared. I don't have my glasses. I have this weird thing going on with my ear that I can't hear out of this left side of my ear. And I'm like really trying hard to hold those 4 points in my mind. Let me see if I can do that. Giving. No, you can't. No. Let me try first, and then you can prompt me if I need it. Giving. Kind speech. Wise words. And impartiality. That was like 3 out of 4, wasn't it?
Wise conduct.
Wise conduct, okay, because the second one was speech, okay. So, for harmony in the Sangha, I think that means showing up exactly as you are in the moment, right? And letting the truth of what's happening for you just be there. Because our Buddha nature, realizing our Buddha nature, really doesn't depend on whether we're getting it right all the time. And the other side of that is that emphasis you put on practice is like the key that unlocks the door. Because when we're practicing, right, with our own mind and our own heart and our own body, that is the foundation of harmony in the Sangha and harmony in the world. there's something about when we're returning over and over again, preferring our practice to whatever sense of solid thing we've got rolling around in our mind, that gives us that direct experience of like, oh, this thing that's happening in my mind is kind of workable and kind of not so solid and not so heavy and not so a piercing arrow to emulate myself with, right? Or spill out on everybody else and shoot my arrows, right? This is such a fascinating practice because the more intimate we get with our capacity to be able to hold everything that's arising for us, the more generous we become with others, because we've actually learned how to be generous with ourselves, how to accommodate ourselves, how to work with the difficulty, especially the negative emotion that's arising, how to just let it be. So you're dealing with someone and you're having difficulty with them in the Sangha, you know automatically how to work with it, right? And I think we learn very quickly on the cushion that if we are beating ourselves up with like negativity and pushing ourselves and driving ourselves on the cushion, it's not working, right? Eventually, you sort of like pop your head up to yourself and say, wait a minute, something else is going on here. What is that something else? What's holding all that? What's holding my castigation of myself? And you let that embrace of your Buddha nature that you are show you what's holding you, what's holding that castigation, how that castigation is arising. And we create harmony in the Sangha. Oh, lovely. And then the conduct, I mean, honestly, just having to sit still and not move is the greatest training for good conduct with your body, right? Because we're actually training ourselves to be in the midst of whatever crazy is arising and not reacting, right? Just even that simple being still, not using our body to create some kind of karmic adjustment, right? So that when we're in the Sangha, it's very natural to listen, to be still, to receive each other, because we're doing that on the cushion. We know how to do that. This is the direct experience that we're all craving. It's not enough just to have the pretty words. And then impartiality. So when we're preferring the breath, all kinds of things are arising. And all kinds of things are being accommodated in our hearts. Impartiality is, you could almost say, the heart of being. Buddha nature doesn't prefer one part of you over another part of you, right? There's no part of you that can escape the Buddha nature that you are. It doesn't work that way. And all of these things get verified in direct experience. Each individual person having this direct experience, so that when we come together, harmony naturally arises. Does that mean that we don't have different opinions, or we don't have lots of stuff for the ear council to do on a regular basis? No. But it means we know how to work with it as a community. We know how to accommodate the challenges. And this grand experiment that we're doing here is radiating throughout the world. This is a moment of possibility of actually knowing how to create harmony with each other.
So we're all Buddha and we're all human, right? There's a teaching in the Tibetan tradition. I've already forgotten the four, it's hopeless. There's a teaching in the Tibetan tradition that the Sangha is like a sack full of yak horns, which are really sharp. And if you throw the sack around enough, they all smooth out, right? We all know what that is like, and it's not always
pleasant.
pleasant.
We're a sack of yak.
Yak horns.
Yak horns.
Yak.
No, not that yak.
Sorry. Sorry.
So the Buddha, the Buddha had such great faith in Sangha to the extent that he knew he was dying and he did not appoint a successor. He transmitted, we all know the transmission story to Mayakai Shapa as a teacher, but he did not say, here is the new Sangha administration to run everything. He absolutely, intentionally didn't do that. He said, live by the Dharma, you'll all figure it out. So he had this intense faith. And it's not like he lived in a Sangha where there were no disputes. There were noticeably 2 huge disputes that are documented where the Sangha almost fell apart. And in each of those cases, he didn't stand up and lay down the law. He simply turned the responsibility back to the monks. Of course, they were all monks then. But lay people were also involved. And first he said, as our ear council says, you can figure this out among yourselves. We'll get a moderator in, talk about this yourself. Of course, didn't always work. And then the second step, he said, was the majority. We'll go with whatever the majority thinks. And of course, these are people who are trained in the Dharma, in wise discernment. And the Buddha's sitting up there looking at you. So you're really engaging the ethical teachings of Buddhism in that discernment. But the third one is the one that really speaks to me, particularly in terms of impartiality. And in the Pali Canon, it's called covering over with grass. I don't know if you've ever heard about that. So it's where there's a dispute that has been going on for so long and is so deep, no resolution is coming out of it. It's like, the Hatfields and McCoys, where you've even forgotten what the dispute was about, but there's this schism happening. So in that case, this system of covering over with grass was instigated, where a member from each side of the division would represent each side, and they would stand up in front of the Sangha and say all the ways in which they had broken the moral and ethical teachings during this dispute. Pride, arrogance, anger, gossiping, the whole thing. They would stand up and confess this publicly to everyone else. And then the person from the other side would do the same. So basically displaying their humanity, right? You know, all those monks knew the teachings on Buddha nature, and still the fighting. And what the Buddha called on them to do was now display your humanity to each other. And you see this in indigenous cultures, in anthropological records. You'll see these systems of where the tribe will form a circle, and someone has committed a great infringement of the rules, and they'll put the person in the middle, and rather than berate them with what they've done, they speak to all the ways in which they value that person, to all the ways in which they love those people. They speak to their humanity. So yeah, Buddha nature, it's all empty, and humanity, we're all in this together. We have the precepts, we have the ethical teachings. Yes, we have the emptiness. How do we manifest it in the spur of the moment when that issue seems so important and my view is so right? How do we actually be human together? And I think Sangha is the ultimate training on how to be human together. And how lucky we are.
The four means of embracing others. O monks, O practitioners, there are these four means of embracing others. What for? Giving, enduring speech, beneficial conduct, and impartiality. These are the four means of embracing others and self. Giving, endearing speech, beneficial conduct, and impartiality under diverse worldly conditions, as is suitable to fit each case. These means of embracing others and self are like the linchpin of a rolling chariot, that which makes it go. If there were no such means of embracing others, then neither father nor mother would be able to obtain esteem and veneration from their child. But these means of embracing do in fact exist, and therefore the wise respect them. Thus they attain to the great way. May it be so for us and for all beings throughout space and time.
Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Thank you all for coming today. In a few moments, there is a wonderful potluck lunch that has been prepared, and so you'll hear the gong, the meal gong ring, and we will partake in some food together. We also have our annual meeting here, so are we eating in here or are we eating out there? Go ahead.
My name is Jakai, and we really hope as many of you as possible can join us for the annual meeting. As Jigen said, the potluck is going to be immediately after this. Jigen's going to be requesting a little bit of help for setting up the room for the annual meeting. The bell usually ends the meal around 2. Today that's going to happen at 1:30. So you're also going to eat on recyclable plates and not have to do all the dishes this time. So if the bell rings at 1:30 and you're staying for the meeting, please bring the rest of your meal in and join us at that time so that we can get started right on time. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Ankin. It is Shokin formation season, so if you are a current Jukai member and you've had your Raksu for at least a year, you are eligible. The main piece of this is a commitment to going to 14 days of session every year. Yeah, 14 days. Days, yeah. Oh, not 14 weeks. Lofty goals, okay. So please, ideally you would ask the teacher in Doksan on Wednesday night or Thursday morning, but if you would like to sign up, please see Solan. Thank you.
Please restore the sendo.